Vice President Kamala Harris facing some tough questions on her big economic push to expand the child tax credit, tax breaks for first-time homebuyers, and money for business startups.
The question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes. It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations. And I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
You know, when you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about.
Congress has shown no inclination to move in your direction.
I disagree with you.
Important context here. New polling from the New York Times shows the economy is the top issue for 28% of likely voters. Double that, as you can see, of the second most important issue. Joining us now, Symone Sanders-Townsend, former chief spokesperson for Vice President Harris and co-host of MSNBC's The Weekend. Brendan Buck is former aide to House Speakers John Boehner and Paul Ryan and an MSNBC political analyst. Symone, did she answer the question?
She did not go into detail, no, about how she's going to pay for the plan, but I would just argue that that's not uncommon, right, for candidates, whether they be presidential candidates or gubernatorial candidates. Now, it's not as though there's no contours of how that is going to happen, or she has not laid out an outline of how she thinks that's going to happen. She has talked about raising taxes on the richest people in this country. The proposal that you've heard about no one making under $400,000 will see a change and raise on their taxes. That is a piece of that. But when it comes time, if Vice President Harris is elected as President Harris, then yes, her administration during the transition, frankly, will go through the rigorous task of laying out exactly how they plan to rally, to ask Congress to rally Congress to get this done. And in that Dana Bash interview that the Vice President had about a month and a half ago, she noted that this would be her day one agenda. So I'm not surprised, and frankly, I thought it was a good interview. Bill was tough, but the vice president, I think, knew she was going in for an interview where, there was going to be some skepticism about her economic proposals, and she stood her ground in that conversation.
So, Brendan, do you think her answer will convince more people, not just that her plan is good? And I think for a lot of folks, the idea of those three things, the extra tax credit, helping small businesses, helping you buy your first house, those are good. But then also that she can pull it off. Do you think she made progress toward that?
Well, I think as a matter of campaigning, she needs to get in front of more people and talk about what she wants to do. And so for being able to do that in 60 Minutes, which always has a huge audience, that's a big win for her. I come at this from a little different perspective. Look, there's a lot of people out there who are going to decide this election who may vote simply because they don't want Donald Trump to be president again. And it's much less about what Kamala Harris is going to be able to do. The reality is the deck is stacked against Kamala Harris. There is a very good chance, an overwhelming chance, that Republicans are going to control the Senate. And a lot of these big ideas that she's talking about, whether you pay for them or not, are probably not going anywhere. And she would be the first president since George H.W. Bush that didn't have a unified Congress working with the incoming president in their first 2 years to advance agenda. It could be a very different set of politics than what we're used to, and it may force us to have to get back into bipartisan lawmaking. And if you're looking at this from a perspective, I don't want Donald Trump to be president, but I'm also not so sure that I want a big progressive, bold agenda. There's a lot of people for whom that's very appealing, myself included. So it's a bit of a catch-22 there of whether or not it's actually good for her to be out there selling this big sweeping agenda that may actually turn off a lot of the swing voters that could decide the election.
Yeah, for the people who care about the economy, and I think even if it's not their number one issue, everybody cares about the economy, right? I want to play what Donald Trump said about Harris's economic policies.
She wants to go into government housing. She wants to go into government feeding. She wants to feed people. She wants to feed people governmentally. She wants to go into a Communist Party type system. When you look at the things that she proposes, they're so far off. She has no clue.
I guess, Brendan, then that's the comparison, right? from what she said and what he said?
Well, I guess I would say he can say that on a radio show, but she had a much bigger platform to do this. And I think it was a huge mistake from the Trump campaign to not do their own 60 Minutes interview. The reality is Donald Trump doesn't want to have to face those same questions about his plan. Kamala Harris's proposals, totaling $3 or $4 trillion in new spending. It's been estimated that Donald Trump, is going to spend, double that without a real good, clear way to pay for that. And the substance doesn't add up for Donald Trump either. And that's why he wants to avoid this scrutiny. And that's why he's doing this really targeted media approach where he's just talking to people he knows are going to go easy on him. I think what Harris is doing is the right approach. It gets you in front of more people. It's how you win campaigns, but it comes with scrutiny, and that's the trade-off. Donald Trump's not willing to make that trade-off.
So, Symone, the Harris campaign has far outspent Donald Trump. They've outraised Donald Trump. I know you think, a lot of people agree with you, that she's out-messaging him. But neither the money or the message has pulled her outside the margin of error in these polls. So what is it you think that's not working? Or if that's maybe not a fair way to put it, what can she do between now and 28 days from now?
I don't think there's anything that's going to pull Vice President Harris's campaign out of the margin of error. I have always believed when Joe Biden was at the top of this ticket and when he was no longer on this ticket and when Vice President Harris became at the top, that this was going to be a close election. We haven't had landslide presidential elections in this country for a while. Millions and millions of people voted for Donald Trump in the last election. I am not under any illusionment that all of a sudden millions of people no longer want to vote for Donald Trump. I do think this is going to be an election that is record turnout. And I think one of the biggest things that maybe folks within, not you, Chris, because you've always been right on the money on this, but other people within the media apparatus have missed is that this election wasn't close before because maybe some voters thought that the president was too old. No, we have to come to a realization across the board that some people do like what Donald Trump is selling. Some people maybe just they like Donald Trump. And that is where we are in this election. And so what the Harris campaign, frankly, has to do is twofold. And I think we're seeing a demonstration of it this week. They need to make this a turnout election, meaning they're going to need to turn out base voters. And understanding that some of those base voters also need to be persuaded that their vote matters. I saw a video that I don't think is being, at the time that I saw it, was an ad. It was a video for social, but I think now they're going to put money behind it. The vice president was looking at pictures, a picture of when she was elected district attorney in San Francisco and a photo of when she was sworn in as vice president. And she talked about how people have the power, and because people voted, these two photos were possible. And it was the power of people at the ballot box. That is what is going to help move people to vote. And then the other thing you have to do is make sure they reach out to, some of these moderate voters, moderate Republicans, and true independents who also, maybe are undecided, maybe not undecided between the couch and Kamala Harris. On this point, they're undecided between maybe herself or Donald Trump. And those are the two things that are happening and will need to happen, but this is going to be close.